Hello again. I just wanted to do a quick video on my resin casting on how it's going. So far so good. Like with the button casting, it was a lot of failures. As you can see, this is my bucket. These aren't all failures, but you know, there's like a lot of them came out like, oh, that's actually a official button. But yeah, like these, they came out cloudy. So a little bit of paint that I had drizzled in there. I was going to try and do a swirl effect, but they come out cloudy. Some of them will come out nice, but what ends up happening is that they're really soft. This is what happens when you use acrylic. It turns almost rubbery. I don't really care for that. And then other than that, like some will come out nice. This one has a lot of air bubbles in it, you can see. But eventually the casting started coming out better and better. Like this one, for instance, it just needs to be cleaned up a little bit, but this one actually came out pretty good. Yeah. But other than that, it's been going good so far. Oh, this one too came out pretty good. You can see. Yeah, it just needs to be cleaned up a bit, like sanded. This is actually for the PowerA controller, the wireless controller. This one, you can tell by the thickness of it. But yeah, anyways, so after many attempts, this is what I got. Some failed, some not failed, some experimental, like this green one in here. Let me see if I can get it. This is actually made from crayon, believe it or not. Yeah, I just melted crayon in the molds, and yeah, they actually came out pretty good. I was thinking about just clear coating them and using them because they come out a lot better than the epoxy was at the time, but it's just too much work. Like you gotta melt it, you gotta actually shave them and melt them. If you just try to stick a block in there, it doesn't melt right away. I don't know, it doesn't work very well. It gets really sticky. But yeah, so anyway, so these are my attempts at casting buttons. So yeah, it's going good. But let me show you the product that I have now, the finished product that I have in my PowerA controller now. So as you can see here, I have this one. This is probably one of the best castings I've ever did. I actually got a pourable mold to use, but the unfortunate thing is it was alginate, so basically it was like a one-time use thing. But you can see that it came out really good, like really good. A lot better than the proto putty method of making molds. And I actually have a vacuum chamber, well, something like a vacuum chamber, that I use to suck out most of the bubbles from the resin before I pour, and I'll show you guys that in a second. So this is what I made. I'm still in the process of making my other vacuum chamber. I have all the parts, I just gotta find the time to put it all together. But I had made this. So basically these little portion cups that I've been mixing the small bits of resin in, it fits perfect in here. It just fits perfect. And what I do is I'll mix up a batch of resin. I can't go more than halfway, I think. Yeah, it's about halfway. If I go any more, then this tip is gonna dip in there. I don't want that. But yeah, so I'll usually like mix maybe about up to here with resin when I'm casting buttons, because even all of that won't fill the molds. You know, like, I mean, it will fill the molds, but it has a lot of leftovers. So, but anyways, so let me show you how this thing works. So basically what I do is I'll mix up the resin and I'll put it in here, and then I have this little thing. This is actually a wine air evacuation system. That's what this is. I got it at Target for 10 bucks. So I was just trying to look for something cheap to suck all the air out of the resin. But anyways, so I'll mix up the resin and I'll put it in like this, and I'll just put this on top, just like that, and I'll just pump it. I'll press down as hard as I can and pump it until I feel a lot of resistance, and I'll just let it sit for a couple minutes. And right now the suction isn't that great because I usually do this on a rubber mat, but right now I don't have the rubber mat with me. But yeah, but the suction is actually okay on the table. This is how I was doing it to begin with. Oh yeah, there we go. All right, and you'll see it gets stuck, and you can open that up and it'll release the air. But yeah, so that's how I was getting the bubbles out of the resin to come out with some more clear resin. It's not like 100%, but it does take out a lot of the bubbles, just this little system here. I did kind of overcomplicate things when I first started. Just give me a second, let me go get the original one. Alright, so this was the original vacuum chamber that I had built, and it was working okay. I had made a little silicone seal around here, you can see that too. But it was working okay for a while, but the issue I was having with this was it would like work really well for maybe like 2 or 3 times, and after that it would spring a leak somewhere, and I'd have to find the leak. I'd have to like put this in water and pump it and look for water, you know, bubbling. So it was kind of a pain. Surprisingly, it never leaked up here. So I just used a bit of hot glue up here to get this in there. This is like industrial hot glue, so it dries really hard. But yeah, so I just poked a hole in a Ziploc container and decided to do that. So, but yeah, so this is the first one. And I realized that maybe I was getting too complicated with the system. Like I wanted a whole chamber and everything, but then I'm only doing small amounts of resin right now, and like these little things lock on the side to hold the air in. I had to cut those too because the silicone gasket that I had put in there, this one, it just wasn't, it's a little too thick, so these latches don't clip in, so that's why they come off, is because I had to cut the holes a little bit to make them a little deeper. But anyways, yeah, so I was just thinking that it was just too complicated, and I decided to try and go simple, and that's what that is. Simple. It's plain and simple, and it works a lot better than this over complicated system here. But eventually, so I do have all the parts for my other vacuum system that I'm going to create. There's the jar that I'm going to use. I'm not going to use the lid, but this is a glass jar that I got from my local Ross. It was only like $2.99, so yeah, so this would be perfect because I'll be able to put like these styrofoam cups in there if I need, or you know, taller cups in here, and this is probably going to be the perfect size. I don't have a lot of workspace where I am, although like I have like free run of this. This is we're at my house right now, but normally I'm at my parents' house. But at my house, I don't have a lot of room for stuff like this because I do have my daughters, and I don't want them getting into these kinds of things and touching it when, you know, when I'm not there, or if someone else is watching them, they don't know, you know. So I think it's best for me to just keep everything small to where I can put it away. But yeah, so anyways, I got all the parts. I just have to eventually, I'm not going to use this lid, by the way. I think I'm going to get like a, maybe like a 3/4 inch acrylic for the top of this, and I'll make a little proto-putty gasket for this, like kind of like how the King of Random did. Similar design to theirs, except they use like those fortune cookie jar thingies. But yeah, anyways, I have all the parts. Eventually I'm going to put it together, and when I do, I'm going to make a video about it, me assembling the whole thing, because it's just going to be this glass jar. I got an old pump from an old ice maker that I had, so I have an old vacuum pump from there that I'm going to use, and I had already evacuated the Freon from it, just so you guys know. But yeah, so eventually I'm going to build that. So as for the resin casting, I think it's going great. I mean, look at this. This thing looks great. Look at that. You can barely see anything wrong with it. And I like this a lot better than the gold. Like the PowerA gold, that I hate those gold D-pads. This looks a lot better. I mean, it probably would have looked nicer if I tried to match the green to this, but you know, I didn't want to play with colors. I just wanted to go with one solid color. And like, if you look at the background, it's the horse mainly that this sits on. There's like a small little part here that would probably be green. But yeah, I think it looks nicer like this. But anyways, that's the video for today. Yeah, just a little update on my resin casting and what I'm going to do in the future. Oh, another reason too why I wanted to do this is because I think I'm going to start evacuating bubbles from resin when I start doing tabletop. It's not really necessary when you do tabletop, but you know, I just kind of want to try it at first. But when you do tabletop, you don't really need to evacuate the air bubbles because it's such a thin layer that you're putting on the table. The bubbles are always going to rise to the top, and you just hit it with a torch and the bubbles will all pop. But I want to see what happens if I was to try to just lay it on with something that I had vacuumed the bubbles out of. This too, I also want to convert this jar into the vacuum chamber, but I also want to convert one of my old pressure pots into a pressure chamber as well, because they said that's really good for crystal clear resin if you want to like put parts in there. So I think that's going to be after I finish the vacuum chamber. That's probably going to be something I'm going to do in the near future, or not so distant future I should say. But yeah, anyways, that's going to be the video for today. You guys have a great day.